Why don't we wait the 1 minute and try to,
See if we got Tom.
yeah, just see if we get Tom in, if he's trying to get in. Why don't we wait the 1 minute and try to.
Looks like Tom's coming in right now.
All right. Jim, then as soon as Tom gets in, you can go ahead and get her started right away because we're at the 9 o'clock hour.
Okay.
Once we get him in and greet him, we'll go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Tom, we can hear you. It's Ray. We don't have video on you yet.
Okay, start my video.
There we go. We got
Can
you.
we get it?
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
We're all set there, Mr. Chairman. You can go ahead then.
Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
of the United States of America and to
to
the republic for which it stands, one nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a couple of announcements to make before we start the meeting. This meeting will be recorded and live streamed to YouTube, where the public will have an opportunity to view the meeting live and access it in the future. The recording secretary will perform every vote during the meeting with roll call vote. We have 4 members present. 3 votes would be required to approve a motion. Public meeting attendees will be able to listen by telephone call-in and participate in public comments by following the directions in the public notice for this meeting. Zoning Board of Appeal members and staff will not be muted during the meetings. Everyone received a packet from our staff in the courthouse. The first business item then would be to approve the agenda as presented to us. ZBA members, remember before motions and seconds, you were to state your name. Now, do I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved, Tom Riley.
Second, Philip Vogel.
And roll call vote?
Mr. Vogel,
Yes.
Mr. Duffett,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
and Mr. Wines.
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0.
Minutes from our last meeting, July 15, 2020. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Tom Riley.
Brent Duffett, support.
Roll call vote?
Mr. Vogel,
Yes.
Mr. Duffett,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
and Mr. Wines.
Yes.
4-0, motion passes.
At this time, we allow a public comment for non-agenda items.
At this point, Mr. Wines, we have no one in attendance. None of the public is in attendance other than the applicants that are joining us on video.
Okay. First item of business is variance 20-04, Mike and Lisa Jackson, Nottawa Township. And we are now at the public hearing portion of the meeting. Ray, do you want to take over from here?
Yeah, thank you very much. As you said, this is variance 20-04 in Nottawa Township. It's right in Beale City, just south of the Beale City School at 2040 Thalen Street. The applicant and owner are Mike and Lisa Jackson. It does end up being in section 21 of Nottawa Township. It's a medium density residential parcel. We got an application for the variance request for a front yard setback of 4 feet where 35 is required in this medium density residential district. Included in your packet is a site plan with the application, comment on section 1404C, and the applicant did provide some pictures of the property, mainly the front porch that they are looking to replace. This is a request for a 4-foot front yard setback, so the front porch as it exists today, not including the steps, is 4 feet from the Thalen Street right-of-way. They'd be looking to reconstruct this porch. If you look at those pictures that the applicant sent, you can see that the porch is crumbling. It's an old concrete porch that was installed back when the home was built. They're going to be proposing to go no closer to the right-of-way than what has been there for many, many years. They are going to be looking to make it a 4x8, so they're making it a little bit bigger, but the porch itself would be no closer to the right-of-way than what is already there. In the applicant's justification, they did point out that the state construction code would require them to have a landing at a point of ingress egress into the home. I talked to the building inspector here in our office, and he did confirm that they are required to have a landing, and that's for plenty of room for door swings. So they can't put steps just right up to the home. They do have to have a landing there. So this is a requirement of the state construction code that they're looking to fulfill. Unfortunately, it's just close to the right of way, so it requires a variance. I would like to point out that in 2018, the Zoning Board of Appeals did make an approval on a request similar to this across the street. They had one of these old concrete porches, and it was replaced by a new porch, again, going no closer to the right-of-way. And in fact, if you look around in the entire neighborhood, it's a very similar situation. All of these houses were built very close to the road right-of-way when they were constructed. In your packets, staff has given you the zoning ordinance language, which lays out your criteria for discussion on the ordinance, on the request, excuse me, section 1404C from the ordinance. After a full review of the application, it does appear to be complete. Staff has made all the proper notifications in the Morning Sun as required by state law and ordinance, and we've sent out notices to all of the neighbors as required by state law. To date, we've not heard any written correspondences, nor have we received any written correspondences from anyone regarding this variance request for or against it. And at the end of the staff report, we have given you sample motions to approve or deny this variance request if you choose to do so. That's really all I have on this variance request, unless the board has questions for me.
Okay, Ray, thank you. At this point, the applicant would be allowed to address the Zoning Board of Appeals Board and state what they would like to in terms of this request. And when you finished your address, well, your portion of the meeting would be over unless you'd be asked questions by members of the commission. So, if you'd like to state your name and address the Zoning Board of Appeals, why, this is the time for that.
They're watching.
Hello, my name's Michael Jackson, and this is a request we're asking. It's more or less a safety issue. We just need it replaced so we can proceed with finishing our project.
Okay. Anything else?
No, it's strictly safety, and we want to comply with everything we're supposed to do. And we need it done so we can continue with our project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak at this point, press number 9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand.
Mr. Chairman, there is no other public that have called into the meeting.
All right, then at this point, I can close the meeting to public comment. Call for discussion by ZBA members. In here? No. Other way. Other way? Yeah, behind you. Is there a box or something? Just go to the office. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, Jim, if it's okay, I'd jump in really quick. It doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of discussion here with regard to this. This is something that we've seen over the years. You know, I've been with the county a long time. This area has had quite a few of these. It's sort of a unique situation that these homes were constructed in this area at this type of proximity, as well as Ray stated and the applicant has stated, you know, there's a safety concern there with regard to the ingress and egress. Many of these homes are built in a fashion that the residence is sitting up a little higher, where the egress ingress is up off of the ground, and the steps do not accommodate for that. That safety or that open swing of a door for safety purposes is something that is needed under the building code, as well as, again, you know, the area is pretty unique to these types of similar uses. So the neighborhood surrounding area does have quite a few of these type of situations in them, and we've granted variances in those cases in the past.
All right, Tim. I don't know if you heard me a minute ago, but someone came in. I'm at the township office right now, and someone came in to deliver a vote, a ballot, so I had to send them to the right place.
I would agree. I mean, you look through section 1404, I think it meets the criterias there. I don't see there's really any reason not to approve it. So if there's no opposition to it or more discussion, I would like to make a motion that based on review of 1404, we approve the variance.
I would second Phil Vogel.
We have a motion and support, and a roll call vote.
Mr. Vogel,
Yes.
Mr. Duffett.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Duffett, could you repeat that?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Riley
Yes.
and Mr. Wines.
Yes.
The motion passes 4-0.
Okay. And the second variance on the agenda, 20-05, Paula Arndt, in a project in Sherman Township. Ray?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, this is in Sherman Township, section 33. I apologize. There's a typo on your staff report. It is not at 2040 Thalen Street. It's in the 400 block of North Rolland Road. The applicant's requesting a variance to allow for a 1,200 square foot building where 864 square feet is the maximum area in the Lakes residential district. It's on the southwest side of the Lake Isabella area. As I said, under section 3.02B2D, as you can see in your staff report, in the Lakes residential district, when there's not a home on the property, there's a maximum accessory building size of 864 square feet. And the applicant is looking to go bigger than that. This is kind of a unique piece of property in that it's about an acre and a half. Most of the times when we see variance requests on and much of the Lakes residential property in the county are platted areas where they were developed in the 50s and 60s on much smaller pieces of property. And so this one being an acre and a half, it's actually, 4, 5, 6 smaller properties put together at the minimums. Staff did take a look at the other buildings in the area, and there are a couple of other buildings to the north and to the south that are of similar size. And so, you know, when you look at this property being the 1.5 acres, you know, it's closer to and is across the street, being on Rolland Road. It's across the street from Ag 3 property. And this property potentially could be subdivided into, you know, 4 or 5 different parcels in the Lakes residential area, and have, you know, 864 square foot buildings, multiple of them on there. So this 1,200 square foot building would be less detrimental to the surrounding properties than 4, 5, or 6 of ones at the maximum size of 864 square feet. Again, in your staff reports, first of all, sorry, in your packets, Mrs. Arndt has provided a site plan which shows the setbacks and the location of the building on this property right off of Rolland Road, as well as a discussion on how the property is meeting section 1404C of the ordinance, which again, we give to you in your staff report. The application is complete, and again, we posted a sign on the property, made all the notices to the neighbors as required by state law, and published the request in the Morning Sun. And as we always do, we've given you sample motions to approve or deny the variance request. So unless there's questions for me, or if Tim has anything to add, that's all that I have for the board.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Tim?
Yeah, I just one quick item. You know, again, we see a lot of these type of requests for buildings larger than the 864, typically up against, you know, on the adjacent lot in those platted parcels. You know, this is a little bit unique. It's a unique parcel. It's a unique size to the parcel. It's off on Rolland Road, not on an interior platted lot. We have done this. If you look back, I know we did this a couple of times up around Littlefield Lake. We've done this a few times, similar types of things up and around Coldwater Lake, and I believe also out there at Lake Isabella. You know, when you're adjacent to these agricultural districts, and you can look across the street and see somebody have a 30 by 40 pole barn, and then you're zoned into this LR district, and you're restricted to the 864 primarily because we want to keep those smaller lots, or we have these smaller lots, and we want to keep these buildings more uniform in size within those LR districts. It just doesn't always like make sense or look right aesthetically. So I don't have much more to say other than we've done this in other areas, again, around this outskirts of some of our lake areas, and this is a larger, unique sized parcel.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, would the applicant care to address the board regarding the request?
Sure. I'm Paula Arndt, and I actually live just down as you can see, I have the lake in the back of me, but down the driveway of where this property is located. Purchased it in 2003, so I've had it for quite a few years. I've been saving up to put a pole barn on there. Did not realize, honestly, that I was going through all this until I spoke with Ray. So I filled out all the paperwork. I'm going to be using it for my pontoon, my dock, for all the miscellaneous stuff that I cannot put a pole barn on the property that I currently own. So it just made sense. I've spoken with both neighbors to the right, to the left, one in my driveway, Ben, and they're like, as long as it looks good. I do have a picture of it, and I sent it over to Ray, but it didn't get to you guys. So I don't know if I can share my screen and show you what it's going to look like so that you can know that it's aesthetically, actually, it's very beautiful. If you could have a pretty pole barn. So it's up to you. Can you see it?
Lift it up a little higher. Yeah. Just again, Jim, I'll jump in. I think they can see it there, Paula. Aesthetics, from the standpoint of the ordinance, the aesthetic side of it doesn't mean a whole lot to the Zoning Board of Appeals. While I know it's appreciative, to the neighbors and such, but their decision won't be necessarily made on the aesthetics, because you could turn around and go build anything you want after you get the approval.
Okay.
And we believe and trust that that'll be the building. It's more the idea here for the board to consider those sections of 1404 and find that uniqueness and find different things, which I think that they have in front of them.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any public comment at this time? If interested, please press number 9 on your telephone keypad.
Mr. Chairman, at this point in time, there's no public in attendance.
Thank you, Ray. We close the meeting as far as public comment is concerned. Is there a discussion among the ZBA members?
Phil Vogel, I have a question. Why 864 was ever chose as a building size, which would basically be a 24 by 36 building area? Was there any reasoning at that time?
Phil, not that I can recall, I just know that it was something that they wanted to get up and above it, 24 square, a typical 2-car garage to give some more room. I know that there was some discussions about, you get into these boats and these trailers and these pontoons and you're needing at least 30 feet. And I believe, 28 by 30, 28 by 32-ish gets us right in that realm. And as well as allows for some of those trailers and those types of things to be stored inside of buildings. I believe that's the reasons, but I don't recall any specific discussion.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
As well, I would say, and I know where you're kind of coming from, Phil, with that is, 1,200 square feet, 1,600 square feet, 1,800 square feet. None of that's ever big enough.
No.
Once you build it, it's never big enough. And
Well,
864 is not really that big, but when you put it on one of these postage size stamps, a 12,000 square foot LR district lot without a home, it becomes a storage piece of property for storage and not for residential purposes anymore. So, there was, some of that is a limiting factor as well because of the sizes of the lots.
Correct.
Any other discussion or comments? Okay, is there a motion regarding this variance request?
I think to hit 1404 again, go back to our list. Everything has been satisfied on there. I don't believe it's going to be detrimental to the neighborhood. Got some bushes along the trees. I don't see why not. So I'll make a motion to approve based on 1404's approval or review.
Tom Riley, second that.
We have a motion, we have support. We have asked the reporting secretary to roll call vote at this time.
Mr. Vogel,
Yes.
Mr. Duffett,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes,
and Mr. Wines.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, the applicants, if you need to see Ray or Tim, that's up to you to make the arrangement.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay,
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
thank you. Any staff comments before we close?
Staff doesn't have any additional comments at this time. I don't know, Ray, did you have anything additional? I guess we didn't talk about that this morning.
No additional comments at this point.
Okay. Any board comments?
Phil Vogel. I do see that the turbines are spinning on Somerton Road. There's 3 of them. And still looks like they still have dirt work and stuff to go on some of them.
Yeah, I think, Phil, I believe that they're in this this phase of starting to, run some power performance on them and certain parts of the project, certain legs, I guess, coming out of the substation. So while
Okay.
they're still, they've completed all their foundation work and they're setting their base tubes still, or maybe all their base tubes are pretty close to being set
I
now.
think they're pretty close.
and they're just waiting to top some off. You know, there's other crews out there that have pulled cable and pulled wire and that kind of stuff. And so I know that they're starting some of that power performance activity at this point.
Yeah, they weren't on very long yesterday afternoon, but they were spinning. So
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else? I think we may have a variance request for the following month, November. Is that true, Ray?
Yeah, I think we'll see two variance requests in November at this point, possibly a third, but it's unclear at this point. We have received 2 applications though for November.
Yeah. Well, mark it on your calendar with 4 members. We can't stand too many people if they don't come to the meeting. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Tom Riley.
second, Phil Vogel.
Recording secretary?
Mr. Vogel,
Yes.
Mr. Duffett,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
and Mr. Wines.
Yes,
Motion passes.
that concludes our meeting.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you next month.
Thanks much.
Bye.